And we are live. It's the Revved Up 906 podcast, a Detroit Pistons podcast to be exact. And I'm Hudson.
And I'm Ryan.
And before we get into tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Washington Wizards, a few things I want to talk about. First off, I want to congratulate our brother team, the Detroit Lions, for their first playoff win in 32 years. They are going on to play. What team are they playing up against, Ryan?
They're going to be playing either the Eagles or the Buccaneers. That game is tonight.
That game will be decided tonight. Okay, so if you are watching this on Monday afternoon after tonight's game, Detroit Pistons game, make sure to tune in to tonight's NFL games to know who the Detroit Lions will be facing in the second round. But a nice win against the LA Rams led by Matthew Stafford. So congratulations to the Detroit Lions. Also, if you are new to the channel and new to our content, make sure to subscribe. And then if you like our content, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to be the first to know when your favorite Detroit Pistons podcast, Revved Up 906, is posting on YouTube, make sure to hit that bell button, because that will send you our post notifications whenever we post a reel or a Saturday's episode or a Revved Up recap. Without further ado, let's get into tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Washington Wizards. And tonight's final score was 129 to 117 in the Detroit Pistons' favor. This was the first win in Capital One Arena versus the Wizards in 16 games since 2014. Ryan, the last time the Pistons won in this arena, we were 13 years old, just little middle schoolers. And now here we are, adults, and the Pistons have finally won in Capital One Arena. And Ryan, when talking about tonight's game, there's a lot of storylines. There's Alec Burks putting up 34 points. Jaden Ivey looking comfortable leading the Pistons offense, whether it's scoring or passing. But the first guy I want to talk about tonight is Jalen Duren, because in this week's episode that we just posted, our main topic is how to get Jalen Duren the ball. And it seems very fitting that a couple days after we post that, Jalen Duren just kind of has an absolutely dominating game, putting up 20 points and then 19 rebounds. But Jalen Duren was a consistent factor on both sides of the floor tonight for the Detroit Pistons. And I think it's really impressive to see him put up such a thick stat line against Daniel Gafford, because Daniel Gafford is an uber athletic big man for the Washington Wizards that knows how to defend, knows how to score. But it seems like Jalen Duren just kind of did whatever he wanted tonight, Ryan.
Yeah, the big thing for that, too, is obviously the trade that happened between us of us receiving Mike Muscala and Danilo Gallinari. That one hurts the Washington Wizards just because they don't have that depth there at the big man position anymore. It was Gafford all night, and they really didn't have another big play other than Gafford. And that hurts because when Gafford gets into foul trouble or whenever he gets in a tough situation where he's gassed, they don't have an extra guy to come up and suit up and go out there and play. They don't have that at that position. So it's either they keep him in all game long or they go small ball. And that's what they ended up having to do from time to time today rather. And it just didn't work for them. And that's what I think really allowed Duren to go out there and be as dominant as he did. Because when you only have Gafford, you only have one guy as an option, and under the big man position in total, it really becomes like, how do we guard Duren at all times? And then when we guard Duren, that takes another defender off someone else, and that happened to be Alec Burks majority of the night. And then if not Alec Burks, watch out for Jaden Ivey too. So it was just a domino effect of the Wizards on defense trying to defend one guy at all times. And it didn't work out in the Wizards' favor, clearly, when you have three guys for the Pistons going off and Duren put in on absolute clinic out there, not even missing a single shot. So
Yeah.
I think not having the depth that the Wizards typically do in terms of their rotation really killed the Wizards themselves, but really helped and benefited Duren to have a monster game like he did tonight.
And Jalen Duren really set the tone early for being very active. He went into halftime with 10 points and 10 rebounds already with a double-double. So I think that really gives a guy like Duren coming into the second half to be able to pull his wits together, be like, okay, I got my double-double. Now where can I focus? And he ended up putting up another 10 points and then nearly another 10 rebounds. So I think that kind of takes the pressure off of Duren coming into this second half and just knowing, okay, all I got to do is button down on the turnovers, which he does well with, and then not foul against a solid center in Daniel Gafford. And he did just that and was able to keep the good play throughout 4 quarters. And that's a big thing, especially for a young guy like Jalen Duren. Um, you know, there's a guy that I want to talk about that didn't have a huge night stat wise, but got the most minutes he has in weeks, and that was Marcus Sasser. Marcus Sasser, 11 minutes and 6 points and 2 rebounds. But what I liked about Marcus tonight is we are going to, I think, see him start to get a little bit more minutes at the point guard position. It seems like Monty Williams is starting to kind of trust him and give him double-digit minutes that we haven't seen in weeks. Do you see that trend with Marcus Sasser continuing, or with Monte Morris more than likely making a return by the end of the month? Do you see him losing those double-digit minutes? What are your thoughts on the current Marcus Sasser play that he has been giving us in like the small amount of minutes he's been given?
Well, first off, he's been playing great. Usually when he's out there, he plays pretty efficiently. He takes what the defense gives him in terms of shooting the ball. And he's been facilitating, making smart plays happen before our eyes. And that's why he's getting these minutes. It also helps due to the trade that took place recently, as I mentioned earlier. It helps him in that situation because you have 2 less guys in the rotation in Marvin Bagley and Isaiah Livers. And Livers had been starting from time to time this season, which we both agree he shouldn't have been. The majority of the Pistons fans out there all agree with us. He shouldn't have been. That's neither here nor there. What happens tonight is Sasser gets the double-digit minutes because he has an opportunity to do so because of the rotation being the way it is. I think he does deserve to get more minutes in the long run. He's just stacking cases from here on out as to why he should be getting those minutes. I think he can continue to get them. It may not be double-digit minutes every single night. It just really depends on what looks Monty is getting from the opposing teams each night out. So, like from the Wizards today, you could easily throw Sasser in the lineup and he was going to give you good quality minutes. In a team against maybe like the Celtics, whenever we play them next, and they come in and they're just tearing us a new one, and we just it's all about feelings, right? So you're going to want Monty Williams to really assess his team based off what the opposing team is giving them, and then also how these guys are interacting with one another on any given night. It's really up in the air on Sasser continuing on to get a certain amount of minutes. I think it all just depends on what the opposing team is giving us when we're playing them as to what kind of role Sasser will get that night out. But I would love to see the increase in minutes. But I also see that you have Alec Burks, who's been playing the best basketball he's played all season long. Last couple of games averaging 17 plus points a night when before he was barely averaging 9. And then you have Jaden Ivey, who since being injected into the starting lineup again, has been playing off the charts, playing as good as he was last year, or so, even more so, even better in certain situations. So it's really up in the air as to whether Marcus Sasser continues to get those minutes or not. I really think it's just up to the opposing teams and what they're giving us each night out there.
Now that brings us to Jaden Ivey. As most Pistons fans know, the Pistons are dealing with some injuries right now with the absence of Bojan and Cade. So that means that a lot of our offensive two of our offensive threats are gone. And so that means somebody has to step up, and it was Jaden Ivey. 24 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 9 of 8 from the field, 2 of 7 from the 3-point line, but I'm not worried about that. 3 blocks, 5 turnovers. For the most part, Jaden Ivey had a great outing tonight, and it really seemed like, especially in the fourth quarter, he just kind of locked in and found a rhythm. In the third quarter he had 8 points, and then in the fourth quarter he also had 8. So it was a big time effort in that second half, and Jaden really rallied the team together to finish out this win against the Wizards. But it seems like this was our best look at like Purdue, Jaden, because the offense kind of all like worked within him, and he really could control the ball the way he did at Purdue. My only thing is we need to get him and Cade playing well together. But Ryan, what are some of your thoughts on Jaden Ivey's great play against the Wizards tonight?
Yeah, it seemed like even the last game out there, he had the shot at the end, which literally went in and out. Like a ghost must have stuck his hand up there and just knocked it out. There's just no way that came out the way it did.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but but I hated that, by the way. I felt awful. But that
Sick.
being said, Jaden Ivey in that play our last game out, and then even the last couple games, you've seen flashes from time to time, pun intended, of him growing as an individual, not just as a player, but as an individual. As a person, you've seen a much higher level of maturity the last couple nights out than we have seen in a while. And that's very good for us because as tonight, like the 5 turnovers, is that a lot? Yes. But in this role tonight, but he was the true point guard in the lineup tonight. Outside of Sasser coming in and giving those 11 minutes, it was really Ivy facilitating the ball. I mean, Killian did his job. He did what he was supposed to. Good job, Killian. But it really was Ivy in control of the offense. And that goes back to the maturity level, right? The last couple nights, even in as I mentioned, last game out, took that last final shot, went in and out. He didn't like dip his head. He just walked off and it's like, yeah, I got to get better. I need to get better. I need to improve. And that's what we saw again today. His growth as a player is far exceeding what he has as the stats go on in game after game, because the stats are like he's playing great basketball. And stats aside, like as a individual himself, I'm just proud of how well he has come the last couple games, because it's evident when he was at Purdue, he was the guy. And he hasn't ever been kind of like a second role player. He's always been the man, the guy essentially. But now with Cade, he has to take a step back and try and grow into that new role that he's been given. But with what we got last year out of him, and so far this year, without Cade in the lineup, he's playing just as great as he did last year, and you're seeing the maturity level there. So I think with what the Wizards gave him tonight, it seemed effortless to him. He put his head down, went to work, and he's happy with the results. But like every single time, we mentioned it earlier on, he came out with a bunch of energy off the bench. And he was that energy guy. He was the one that really helped us go on runs when we needed them to. And then so far as getting injected back into the lineup, he's been able to carry that on and be like, hey, guys, you got me. Like, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to make sure I get you the ball when you're open. I'm going to look to just create opportunities for others. And if there's an opportunity for me to explode and go to the rim, I'm going to take that opportunity, but I'm also going to look for you guys too. And I'm hats off to him today because he played great. And then even the last couple nights out, he's been playing great basketball too. And I based off of the fact that he has grown as an individual more so as a player.
And then that brings us to Alec Burks. He is a bad man. 34 points tonight, 11 of 17 shooting from the field, and 8 of 12 from the 3-point line. Yes, 8 made threes. Alec Burks will give you a bucket any way you want it on all 3 levels. He is scoring at an elite level right now, especially from the 3-point line. I mean, and it's coming at a perfect time. Your Cade's dealing with some injuries and heavy load of scoring, and then he gets hurt, and then Bojan's kind of throwing up shots these last couple games, and then he goes down with an injury, and then there goes our top 2 scorers, and Alec Burks puts up a big 30 burger. He is just playing at an elite level right now in his vetted stage of his career. Ryan, your thoughts on the great play from Alec Burks?
He's playing exactly how I thought he'd come in and play this season, and then even when we initially got him in the trade. He's playing Alec Burks basketball. He's playing his brand of basketball. Like the last couple of years when he was with the Knicks, and he had that 60 piece, I'm going like, man, I wish he was in Detroit. And then here we are, a couple of years later, 34 points, barely could miss a single shot to save his life, and it was just fun to watch. Whenever we needed a shot, he'd be that guy. Whenever we needed a rebound or anything else, he was also that guy. He just it's like, how aren't the Wizards guarding him? Like, there was multiple points tonight in which there was not a man on him, and then not only that, but there was not a hand in his face. Like, even if the guy was there, it was not even close up. He was standing very far back, and it's like, dude, you're giving a shooter space to shoot. Like, I don't know. I'm just thrilled with the play of Alec Burks tonight. And the Wizards really screwed up because, like, when you're allowing Alec Burks to drop 34 points on you, like, I'm not disrespecting Alec Burks, but when you're letting Alec Burks drop 34 points on you, and he's not like face of the franchise caliber player, he's one of those very smart, high-end role players that you would want on any team you have. But still, it's like Alex Burks just dropped 34 points on you. It's not Cade Cunningham, not Jalen Duren, not Jaden Ivey, not Bojan Bogdanovic. It's Alec Burks. So hats off to Alec Burks because he's been putting on an absolute clinic lately. And I can't be happier as a Pistons fan being able to witness this night in and night out.
The last person I want to mention before we wrap up tonight's recap is James Wiseman, because we saw his first outing as the for sure backup center for the Detroit Pistons, with Marvin Bagley getting traded away to the Wizards. And we saw Wiseman get 14 minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 of 4 from the field with 2 blocks. So when you look at the box score, it's nothing crazy. But when you watched this game against the Wizards, James Wiseman had 2 crucial blocks in the first half. So he set the tone in the first half with some great defensive play, and then got his own on the boards. Duren actually didn't even really need that much help in the rebounding category. I mean, he got 19 himself. So it wasn't really James Wiseman's duty to just get every board he can, but it was to make an impact defensively and around the rim. And he got his 3 shots up and made in the paint. And then he only got 2 blocks, but throughout the game, he was really controlling the paint. And it was kind of nice to see James Wiseman make an impact, maybe not in the stats, but with solid defense and not committing too many fouls, because that can be a big thing for Wiseman. And he only had 1 foul tonight. So that's one thing we've seen growth from Wiseman throughout this season, is we know he can struggle with fouls, but only picking up 1 tonight in 14 minutes. Ryan, your thoughts on James Wiseman's first game as the for sure backup center for the Pistons?
Well, first off, he definitely looked a little bit more comfortable than he has been lately. But I think that's also because of the fact of the trade. Now he's clearly won the battle of the big man position there, and he's not filling up the box score completely, but in the minutes he's been given, in the increased minutes rather, he's actually playing solid basketball. He's not playing like a number 1 pick is expected to play, or a number 2 pick, or a number 3 pick. Not a top 5 pick, but he's still playing great, solid basketball that you would want from a guy coming off the bench with his caliber of talent. You're gonna want somebody who's gonna go in there, give you solid minutes, and give you solid numbers. And it may not be 15 plus points a night, 10 plus rebounds, or a double double. If he can come in and give us solid minutes whenever he's expected to, I'm happy, because with the play of him tonight, he was there defensively. He got those 2 blocks. I also felt as if he probably could have had maybe 8 blocks today, because just there were certain situations. There was a drive of Kyle Kuzma on, I believe it was Killian Hayes at the time, and he went in for the layup, and Wiseman had been there already in the paint at the high end of the key, but then slides off, and then there goes the layup for Kuzma. But he could have had a hand up in blocking that shot, or at least contesting at some point. But it wasn't terrible. But I really do appreciate his play tonight.
That will do it for tonight's recap of the Detroit Pistons versus the Washington Wizards. Tonight's final score was 129-117 in the Detroit Pistons' favor. Before you guys leave, I mentioned it earlier in this recap that this week's episode is talking about getting Jalen Duren the ball. I want to make sure to remind you guys to tune into that episode. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and comment below. In episode number 12 of season 2, we talk about all the different intricacies of how to get Jalen Duren the ball, why we think it'll make the Pistons more successful. And actually tonight's win was actually kind of a sentiment to that topic of why we should be getting Jalen Duren the ball. So make sure to tune into that episode. We enjoyed putting that one together for you guys. We will see you guys in the next Revved Up recap. Peace.